All right, that seems working, everybody. Okay. Oh. Okay. Let me call to order the board trustees meeting of Monday, October 17th. With the first order of business being public participation. Do you have any?
I didn't receive any emails. I did get an email earlier in the day, just a positive review of the Erie Canal program that happened. I said enthusiastic 2 thumbs up for the Erie Canal program. So that's the thing I've heard.
Yes, I went to that. That was great. Really good, actually. Okay, the next meeting is agenda item is the previous meeting minutes on pages 2 through 6 in your packet. We can just get a few seconds to look through that.
It's just one section way towards the end.
Okay.
Where I thought the word like wordsmith. Yes. See where it says on a motion by Charmaine, it says contract and addendum at the end of the at the paragraph there. Like,
Oh,
so,
that's probably when I was typing on my notes. I'll take that out.
Okay, any other changes to the meeting minutes? I'll take a motion for the minutes.
Make a motion to accept the previous meeting minutes.
Thanks, second.
I second the
Great,
motion.
all's in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Hearing no opposition, that passes. Financial report. Page 7.
Okay, so we have received 1.5 million in tax revenues from the school district. It's a little bit less, we're a little behind where we were last year, but we expect to start receiving a few more large payments in the next few weeks or so. We do want to touch base with the new folks over there and have a meeting and just, get to a meet and greet kind of thing, just to say hello. We also received a reimbursement from the town of almost $10,000 to offset the cost of laptops that were purchased in June, so in the old fiscal year. And the reimbursement came in September or October. The laptops were used to create content for the public access channel, so we were able to take advantage of funding from the town for that. So all that said, it's created a credit balance in furniture and fixtures, or furniture and equipment, if you look at that line in the budget report. So, it just looks a little odd because there's a credit balance there, but that will change as the year goes on and we purchase more items that will be charged to that line. But I just wanted to note that. Other than that, we're tracking very consistently to last year. We're about 4% under budget. I don't know if anybody has any questions, any specific questions about any items or checks or disbursements or whatever. Before I go on to a couple of other things I want to talk about.
As we approach the end of the first quarter, should we be tracking similar to last year?
Yes.
Is there any- okay.
Yeah, yes, I would expect to, yes, very much so. The audit fieldwork is done. In fact, I received draft financial statements Thursday. I haven't had a chance to review, to go through them in their entirety. I'm hoping to finish that by tomorrow, but I have started looking at them. And hopefully we will, once I have a conversation with the auditors, there are a couple of wording changes that we need to give them, and they need a little bit more information, but once they make those changes, then we'll have final drafts, hopefully within the next within the next week or so, 10 days maybe. And then what I'd like to do is call a finance committee meeting to review the drafts. And then we'll send the drafts out to all of the trustees, so you have a chance to look at them before the next meeting. The auditors will be coming to that meeting to make a presentation. That's basically the process. I mean, I think things went extremely smoothly this year. And I actually have had a chance to get through a good part of the financial statements, so they look pretty good. I don't see any big issues or any changes or questions that I have that I want to address with them. A couple of little things, that's it. And I did want to mention that the treasury bill that we purchased last May is coming due on November 3rd. So we will need to make a decision about what we want to do. If we want to just roll it over and purchase another treasury bill, if we want to purchase a greater treasury bill or a couple of different treasury bills and stagger them a little bit. I think I'm going to need to sit down and really think through that a little bit and maybe give the finance committee a couple of options, and then we can talk through and decide what makes the most sense.
Because I assume if we need to make that decision before November, whatever you said, then we're gonna have to do that before the next board meeting.
Yes.
We definitely have to.
Yes, right.
Okay.
Right. Right now, I'm leaning towards, and I haven't reviewed the rates. I mean, I know the treasury bill rates are definitely higher than what the original purchase price was. I think they were around 3%, 3.5%. And this bill was at like 1.3%, I think. But interest rates have probably gone up too. I'm not sure where CDs are. They haven't been tracking as well as other things, so I don't know. I'm a little hesitant to do too much because with the new personnel at the school district, and in terms of when we're getting our funding, our tax revenue, and you know, with the building project and the architect's fees, I don't want to tie up money too much because just we want to see how things fall out. So I'm kind of leaning right now to just rolling over that $1 million, but we'll look at that and see if that makes the most sense, or if there's other alternatives that would make better sense.
Can you explain it to me in a short, simple manner? So what is this money that's in the treasury bill, and why did we purchase a treasury bill?
Okay. So our interest has been at a very low level for a couple of years, and we were looking at any opportunities to try to earn a little bit more interest. The interest on our money market account was really low. It was less than 0.5%. It was like 0.2%,
Right.
0.02%. In the spring, as interest rates were starting to come back a little bit, treasury bills, which are an investment that the library can make, it's a very secure investment backed by the US government. Those rates were coming up a little bit. So we made a decision to invest a portion of the money that was held in the money market account in a treasury bill, just a 6-month treasury bill, short term, because we know we're going to need it at some point. And it gave us, the opportunity to generate some more interest. So we are definitely going to be, we'll have more interest income this year than what we budgeted.
Okay.
Which is good. But it's a very hard thing to budget because you just don't know what interest rates are going to do in the future. So,
And it was a great investment that Sherry picked up on by herself and brought to the board, so it was really great.
right, because I was
Again.
watching the rates and we thought that maybe it'd be the right time to do something like that. So we'll just continue to monitor it and decide whether we want to continue to go forward or do something different or.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody has any other?
Any questions on the financial report or move to the resolution? Any items? Okay, no, that's for motion.
Well, I guess I do. Are we gonna go to this feasibility study
I was
capital?
gonna do the report and then we'll
Okay.
do the. That's. So I need a motion on the actual report.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, anyone? Please.
Motion to accept the treasurer's update, the financial report on page 716.
Okay, second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye, raise your hand. Okay, great. No opposition. Seeing no opposition, that motion carries. So you want, let's go to the motion in the packet.
So, because we have entered into a contract for the feasibility study, we want to make sure that we can track all of the expenses or any expenses that we incur related to any type of future building project, including, you know, this feasibility study, architect's fees, any preliminary expenses. We want to track them all in one place so that we can accumulate it and know exactly what we spent when all is said and done. The way to do that is to allocate some funds from our general operating fund. We call it Fund A on the books, to the Capital Projects Fund, which is called Fund H. We'll actually, my recommendation is to move $50,000 to cover the cost of the feasibility study. And move it to the Capital Projects Fund, and that actually requires moving money from one bank account. Well, it's the same bank, but it's a different bank account. So the money is totally kept separate. And when we start paying the invoices to the architects, we'll pay those invoices from that pot of money, and it will be all tracked separately. When, as and if we go forward with a building project and we do bonding, the bond proceeds will go into this account as well, and we'll pay invoices through it as well. So that's the purpose of this. It's important to isolate the money and track it separately. And the way to do that is for the board to authorize a transfer physically from the current operating fund to the Capital Projects Fund.
Okay, I'll call for a motion. I'll make a motion actually. The Board of Trustees authorize the transfer of $50,000 from the current operating fund, Fund A, the Capital Projects Fund, Fund H, or H to pay for the cost of feasibility study improvements to the library.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
You know, I did have a question, actually,
Yeah.
When we met as the finance committee, we talked about a declaration of project expense. And I'm sorry, Sherry and Jeff, I meant to ask you about this before the meeting and I didn't get to, but, so have we done something like that? Is it necessary? Should we do it now?
It's, you just did. So no, it's okay. It's a great question.
No, go right ahead.
So by transferring the money, the board has just declared a project budget for the feasibility study.
Same
You
thing.
authorize the contract, and that contract is what it is, but there's also going to be additional expenses. There's always those per, mileage or whatever printing. The board has said, we expect this project, the total project cost to be $50,000. If we get to the point where it looks like it might be higher, let's say the board changes the scope of the project, the feasibility study, the board can do that. It comes back and says, okay, we're amending this transfer to be now 75. So this is the project budget for this feasibility study. That's what you just transferred in. That's why it doesn't match exactly with the contract, because you're expecting that there's going to be your
Gotcha.
little
Okay,
items.
thank you.
And if it turns out that we don't spend all of the funds, we authorize a transfer back.
Sure. Okay.
It becomes important, not with this non-bonded money, but with bonded money. It's very important to know exactly what money has been expensed. Bonded money was received from the taxpayers. It was expended. How did that get expended?
It also doesn't lock us into doing anything.
No.
Locks us into doing the feasibility.
Right.
Okay, great, thanks. Personnel report.
All right, so first I want to just introduce everybody. Phil Berardi, who is our new head of circulation and technical services, is on board, as you'll see that reflected in the personnel report. But as far as new actions are requested, I'm really only asking for a new part-time library clerk. That's the only change that we have from last month to this month, so. The authorization to hire.
I'll make a motion to approve the request to fill the Harvard library clerk part-time position. Second.
Any discussion? And all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, so opposition, that motion passes. Assuming the rest of the approved positions are under active.
There's a few that are not under active recruitment, those tend to float towards the top, right, because they're arranged by date. So there's a couple part-time library clerks that are out there, had some good conversations with Bill as we're bringing him on board. As physical circulation comes up, the page positions and some of those part-time positions cycle exactly with how busy we are, and we'll continue to monitor how we're using those positions. So they've been authorized to be filled. We need to fill them because we're busy enough to justify it. I'm here to tell you.
Okay,
So.
great. Director's report.
All right, make sure. Here we go. So unfortunately, our plowing company that we love is pulling out of doing plow this year. So we're a little bit late. So we're sending out some notices for quotes to try to get someone to come in and do our plowing for the winter. So that's always a little bit, it's a little nerve-wracking as we get into, we're close to November now. Snow
Yeah.
can start flying anytime. So we'll work quickly on getting that. Anybody out in the ether wants to come give us a quote, I'd love to talk to you. Folks from Ashley McGraw were here, speaking of the architects, the landscape architects, and the architects were here. They did their initial site survey of the building. They met with us just briefly. Mostly they wanted an untrammeled opinion of the building before they come in and get our very trammeled opinions of the building and what we think. They want to assess the building. Actually, as they usually are, they're quite complimentary. Is, for being 50 years old, the building is in quite good shape. From just a building perspective, and then we'll talk about how it meets the needs of the library going forward. That's all parts to come. But it was nice. It was nice to meet the folks and walk around the grounds and building. So they were here for most of the day, and they really didn't need much from us other than to talk to Kevin.
Did they also look at the Borthwick property?
They did.
They
Yeah,
did.
that the landscape architect just briefly, and the architect in more detail went through with Kevin.
Okay, great.
So, and then we did have a tree that we had to cut down. We had a kind of a substantial branch come down and land in a place that made me very nervous. So that tree came down, and we'll work with our garden volunteers to figure out an appropriate replacement for that tree going forward. Let me see, 3D printers back in, the IT department is supporting that right now with the public services. They're working hard, but I think IT is starting those initial appointments with people, and mostly folks just want to see it working. They'll convert some small percentage of those into people who come back and actually want to use a 3D printer to print for themselves. Most people just want to see it. They want an introduction to it. And then they're kind of quite satisfied with that. I see how this works. Great, thanks. I'm glad that's here. They take off. And then some people become interested and they'll come back and use it. So it's just a game of percents as far as that's concerned. We have online form for exhibits, the exhibit space, the art space. We're sort of we made a formal announcement out to the public. We're back. Come in and get your art displays. We have our new policy for that, and that's we're booked up again. We're fully booked up right now. So for this, the more desirable hallway, the Delaware Avenue hallway, or sorry, the Plaza hallway, there are still some spaces available. I think they're going to be going very soon. For the Delaware Avenue hallway. So that's good. It's good to see we have our art displays back. I did just want to mention our student interns. We have Bethlehem Central School District School to Work program. They're here with us a couple times a week, and they're always nice to see they're working on some job skills, and then helping us with our programs. So we like that. We are focused on early literacy for the fall. I mentioned this, and later on in the meeting, we're going to talk about meeting rooms. One of the things is our early literacy programs are taking place in the community room. They're taking space away that might otherwise be desired by some community groups. My focus is to get as many early literacy programs in here for the fall. That's our goal. We're happy to see Coffee and Conversation back, and we have a great new partnership with the Bethlehem Historical Association That's an ongoing series of like those, anytime we can partner with our other local partner agencies, we're very happy about that. I don't believe I talked last month about the Friends of the Library book sale, but they had a very successful fundraiser. They're meeting right now. But they raised quite, about $3,000 with their book sale fundraiser, and they'll schedule another one for the spring. They do have, for the first time in a couple of years, they're running a bus trip down to New York City that's sold out. So they're not taking that, their wait list is full, so not accepting any more checks for that. Lots of great programs. I'm not going to read these all to you, but they're all there. Just try to give you a good sample of what's going on this month, happened last month. For outreach, I did just want to bring up our outreach program has been incredibly successful. We're looking at how we allocate staff. When we do our outreach events, we're getting hundreds of people who are attending the Five Rivers outreach event. We're expecting trunk or treat is going to be enormous if the weather's at all decent. So we look at where we're putting our time and effort, how we're reaching and how we're reaching people. We just have to keep that in consideration. So lots of folks coming.
I see it says plans finalized to attend PTA, PTO meetings.
Yeah.
Who's working on that?
At the librarians, each of the librarians are assigned to a school district, and so they're some of our librarians have never been the liaison to a school district before, so they're now right in the process of making those contacts. Some of them have already been made, or they already had established contacts.
Okay.
So
I'll wait to hear.
okay, very good. Well, if you want to hear,
Okay, I will.
I'll put you directly in contact. As far as circulation is concerned, I'm trying to figure out a good way to talk about our use patterns post-pandemic. It's different. I feel things are different, but I like to be able to have real data when I talk to you about what's actually happening. And Phil was nice enough to give me a graph here. It's a multi-year graph of active use. These are the active users in the month of September in each of these years, so 2018, 2019, 2020. So you can see where there was the dip in 2020, obviously. If we were doing this in March, there would have been a bigger dip at that month, but by this time in 2020, we were back somewhat. So that's giving us an overall impression of use of the library. Circulation would track right along with this. But library traffic, number of people through the door count is substantially lower. So our circulation is effectively back to normal. Right. So when we talk about circulation in the library, both electronic and physical circulation, it looks a lot like what our pre-pandemic numbers are looking for. But the folks through the door don't look like what we expected to. So a significant decrease in the door.
So they're still using electronic resources.
It's not even electronic circulation because our e-circulation you can watch that's later on has been dropping a little bit. Physical circulation keeps going up and up. The library part of this, the librariness is effectively back to normal. The people who are borrowing from the library coming in, using the services of the library, they're here and they're using that. There are other uses of the building that are different post-pandemic. And so I mentioned a few of them. I really think that the tutoring, which used to be a major part of our business. If I was in here this time of year, certainly by now, but in October, if we were in here in the afternoon, by between 3 and 6 in the afternoon, there wouldn't be a horizontal search. It's available here where people were tutoring. We are just not seeing that business. I think it went online. I think the tutoring has gone virtual and certainly has not returned to what we expect.
Doesn't that kind of inadvertently solve a problem that we have?
It's not terrible.
I mean, not from the space, but I know that there, over the years, several people have cited objections to
Tutoring in general.
using this basically as an office. And we have kind of continually commented on that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that kind of solves itself.
It's not terrible.
Yeah.
It's a trend. I think it's important to recognize it and just say here, here's a different use. We're getting ready to go in to a feasibility study. We're talking about the use of the building. There's a substantial change. Saying the library stuff.
Would it be fair to say that although library usage is at approximately at the same rate, that people who were coming into the library but not borrowing materials has decreased
Yeah.
significantly?
Yeah.
And a question for a feasibility study is, are we okay with that? Or do we wanna kick that back up?
Yeah, is that permanent? Is that, you know, and it's, I think
What people are coming in and paper.
Well, or programs, yeah, that's the other.
Programs, yeah.
reason.
right, so programs, I think whether it's, you know, our programs or people's meetings, I think those are definitely not back to normal.
Kids programming?
Kids programming is, you know, headed towards normal, but not normal. So, you know, that's my stressing that for the fall, like that we need to say, that's what we're pressing on, because I want that back. I think it's important and needed thing, but, you know, some of these needs that were being met by the library before the pandemic are being met in other ways. So I just think it's important.
So just to be clear, so kids programming is still not back to normal, not for attendance reasons, but because the library isn't back to normal.
I wouldn't say that,
Oh,
but I would say attendance isn't what I would expect.
okay, so maybe the public doesn't realize that we're functioning back to 100%. Right,
I mean,
Uncomfortable in the spring.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we're doing that on purpose, you know, we are children's program, we're doing the community room, because people are not comfortable packing to the density in the story hour where they used to, and some people are just not comfortable coming into a room full of people at all.
I'll actually say, I mean, because the library was not available to me for the first year, I have to actively tell myself to say, oh, when I'm trying to figure out what the weekend's going to be, to say, oh, let's see what's going on in the library. So there's probably some of that. It's not necessarily, oh, we don't know that they're up to full, or what they're waiting to get us up to full speed, or that I'm sure that there is some of, you know, not wanting to be in a room, but it's also just reminding, I think, parents of toddlers that the library is an option.
Right.
Because they didn't have it for so long.
Right. Right, and I think that, you know, and that's something like you're seeing with the outreach events, those big outdoor events are seeing, not just us, Five Rivers, Ellesmere Fire Department, they are seeing attendance like much larger than pre-pandemic attendance. So I wish I could tell you exactly why. It's just a thing for us to notice and say, you know, this is, for probably like everything involving humans, it's a multi-factor. It's a multi-factor thing. So
last month you had talked about how hours at most libraries in the system are
Right.
back to normal. And is there recognition that we pretty much are, and
I
do we
think
stand
so,
out among
but
that?
if you're gonna, if I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that our 8 to 9 hour is anything like as busy as it was. It's just not. You know, there are some of those odder time, Friday nights.
Are dead.
We're open, we're here, but there isn't as much. So, does it come back? What's the long-term implication of that? But it's just, I think it's,
Yeah, I'm wondering if it'll boomerang, you know what I mean? Like, because people couldn't do anything, now they're like, I wanna go do something big, you know what I mean? But after a while, your sort of enthusiasm for that will fall back.
well, and I think there on your point is exactly right. You know, people, it's a habit. People coming in, bringing their kids to story time. If you're out of the habit of that,
Or you were never.
and you're never in it, and that's the
because you
thing.
have-
Right.
Like the farmer, I mean, the farmer
Well,
market is
yeah.
something I could go to, so
Right.
it's very much in the habit. Not that I'm not coming to the library, but I'm saying that I have to be like, oh, yes, put library on the list of
Right.
things to do.
So,
I mean, we tend to forget because that was that big chunk of time, like it's like lost time. Like the people that had kids during that never came here.
Yeah, or even if you had, let's say, a 6-month-old or a year old, I mean, it's just not your repertoire.
right.
So maybe post about something kind of targeting.
Well, that's where it is.
Yeah.
That's our press for the fall, for like, and for everything, not just are we having them, but how we're marketing them, our emphasis on them as far as staff are concerned, all of that. This is that's my goal.
Seems like the school district would be helpful. It's there. You know, everybody's saying we're behind, so.
Seems like a good part, I don't know if this is pie in the sky, but I mean, a good partnership for something like early intervention programs, the district early intervention programs, hey, they could give us the library.
Right.
I'm sure you've already thought of that.
That's a great idea. And all ideas I love.
Well, and if they come to PTA, for example, Many of my like kindergarten, first grade, second grade parents have little or kids too at home. So like if somebody came to present at our meeting, then that would be like a one time to get to some of those people.
Thank you. Okay, great discussion, thank you. This training and just a reminder, on Monday, November 7th, 12:30, we have a mini retreat with Tim Burke from the Uprights. And I'm just going to roll down here on my sheet and I'm going to talk about circulation. So our ebook circulation so here's ebook use, actually down 0.5% from this time last year. E-magazine use just up a little bit, streaming video down 18%, that's significant. And then audiobook use, of course, always up 12%. That's never returning. But overall, good increases in circulation. You know, adult fiction 12%, adult nonfiction 7.3%. So good gains. Adult video not coming back. You know, the streaming services are just they're eating our lunch on that stuff. That's just not a business we'll be in forever. Not that we're getting rid of it anytime soon. Magazines the same way. So you know, lots of good increases in circulation. But it's interesting, we haven't had in a decade substantive decreases in e-circulation. So so the circulation's up, mostly that's based on physical circulation. That's books and things going across the circulation desk here. There we go.
So the Library Speakers Consortium
Yeah.
program counts in there in terms of
Programs.
programming.
Yeah.
Say, if you guys haven't taken advantage of that, it's a great program.
Thank you for saying that.
I like talk to people all the, if you're anybody that likes to listen to authors.
Yeah.
It's really accessible. I love that they send you the link at the end. I think they should just send it to libraries that are participating to post. Do they?
I don't believe they do. You don't get, I'm one of the contacts on the email and I don't get it. So I think they are trying to not make that.
But why not?
Well, because the library's paying for it, and they don't want necessarily.
The library's paying for it.
Correct.
Full stop.
Full stop. Yes,
Right, so.
I'll ask.
Why can't they give it to us for people that either, I mean, there's a limit on how many people can register for library, then like, what's the issue?
Maybe about other libraries, marketing to other libraries that aren't paying to be backed.
So other libraries would say, oh, go to Bethlehem, they've got a post.
Well, there's that link on their website, go there. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Would we have a problem with that?
I don't know. And right now, if someone registers for it, there's no check on whether you're a Bethlehem card holder.
Okay.
It's advertised by us. I did ask about a consortium membership. I was like, this is great. Can Upper Hudson just join? And they said hard stop on that. We sell individually to libraries, not to consortium. They are aware that library consortia exist. They're not interested in marketing to library consortia.
So you don't have any idea in terms of our own patrons who are participating, like what percentage are?
Oh, we know how many people
Okay.
are people, yes, because they register through the library. It's
Okay.
about the library link, not necessarily whether they're library cards from Bethlehem or Albany or Vina. They don't check that. Like some of our databases check on
Okay.
that. This doesn't do that, but they register through us, then we get a return on, that's what. No, we don't get to enter the tens of thousands of people watching across the country. That would like our program members would be fantastic. But
It's a great.
thank you for doing it, because we wanted to have access to better authors than we can, or more authors than we can have access to physically in this space. That was the.
And I'm sure the authors love it. How could they not?
It's one and done in a big audience, right?
Oh. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Okay, UHLS,
Well, I mean, the little bit I'm gonna say is gonna go into this, but
yeah,
really, one of the things that Upper Hudson's been working on right now is their budget, and the thing that's driving their budget is the cost of delivery to the public library. So this is how they figured that out. So, we've had that conversation before in terms of not loving all these increases, and we pay, as you can probably see, a big chunk a bigger chunk, but we're also big users, so. I guess that makes more sense.
Right.
There wasn't a ton of discussion at the board meeting in terms of concern, as there has been, so. That's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's inarguable that delivery.
Yeah.
With the prices of gas and staff, you know, and contractors' costs. Delivering books to every library
yeah.
all across the 2 counties is gonna be more expensive than it has been. So, but still very important. We're a huge net borrower in our library. We absolutely take books from the other members of the Upper Hudson Library System in a massive, in a quite large way. So here's where our borrow from, in the past month, we borrowed almost 6,000 items. We sent out 4,200 items. So that percent isn't fundamentally different than, the previous year. We borrowed 77,000 items for our patrons and sent out 52,000. So we absolutely, we pay a substantial percentage of the Upper Hudson fee, but we also use a substantial percentage of the resources of Upper Hudson. And you can see that here in this contract, there's a circulation fee. Our circulation, we're 470,000 circulations. We're higher than Albany Public, higher than East Greenbush, higher than Guilderland, and almost as high as Tommy Town Library, and they got 75,000 people. So we absolutely get our value out of the system.
And didn't you say that another large library, Binghamton, possibly had made the decision not to go with UHLS, and then a couple of years later came back?
It was, so their system, they're not, they can't be part of our system. They're the 4-county library system, which is whatever, Rome County, Cuyahoga, whatever those are down there in that part of the state. 20-something years ago, their central library would be like Albany Public, opted out of the system. And then pretty rapidly realized that that was a terrible decision, and that cuts you off from a lot of grants from the state that are funneled through the library system. So the library is no longer eligible for a lot of grants. We're definitely paid by the state funds in both services and directly through grants to participate in the system. That's it is inarguably a good fiscal financial deal for us.
I saw the increase was capped too.
It's at 5%.
If it wasn't not capped, it'd be higher. Yeah, so that's helpful.
No lower than 2, no higher than 5.
Yes.
So,
That was it for me.
Hmm?
That was it for me.
Yeah.
So something we have to vote on.
we have to vote on this before
the year.
December, right? So, if you think looking at this and thinking about it is gonna change your mind on it, that's fine. If you want to vote on it tonight, I think that's fine too. But
I mean, the argument to doing it now is that we're not gonna not do it. Right? I mean, in some ways, unless we had it discussed, we can talk about it, go through it, but been through this a couple times since I've been on the board. I can always. tell
Well, is there
stories.
anyone that has a strong opposition
Yeah.
to it?
well, and the Upper Hudson Board is made up of library
Right.
trustees, our library trustees. So it's not like it's an organization in opposition with the library. It's made up of representing.
Comes down to the money.
It seems like we have a lot of other stuff coming up on our plate, and we should
Yeah.
just vote on this today and have it be done.
I agree with that. All right, so I'll take a vote on the upper agreement.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Any discussion? All those in agreement, please signify by raising your hand. Okay, see no opposition, no passage. Yeah, early passage of the.
Thank you.
You can report that to upper Hudson.
You can tell them in person.
Exactly. Okay, great, thanks. Okay, that takes care of the first new business meeting room issues.
All right, so I'll try to be as succinct as I can about this. We have had 2 groups in the past month who our policy states that each group may have 1 meeting per month. And then as we get within 4 weeks of the rolling date, they can request additional room. If the room's available, you can request additional meetings. Because we figure once you're within 4 weeks, I'd rather not have the room sitting idle, it's available. The 2 groups are large groups, and they are interested in having a board meeting separate from their membership meeting. So a membership meeting and then a board meeting. Their argument to me was that that was a separate meeting. My argument was that it's not a separate meeting. So every once in a while, I just want to error check with you and make sure that I'm not being too hard line on this. Some groups do spawn subgroups. So I'll give you a perfect example. So there's a Del Mar Progress Club has a large meeting membership group. There's a travel group. Folks who like to travel that are all members of the Progress Club, but they're just there to talk about, there's a book club, for instance, where they meet, and we've declared that to be a separate, it's a different group of people, it's not affiliated, lightly affiliated, but it's not directly affiliated with the main group. But a board meeting seems to be very affiliated. It's the same meeting. We do have to equitably distribute these rooms as much as we can. That's the reason we have a policy. So I just want to make sure that meets with your expectations, that I'm saying, no, you can have your membership meeting, not a board meeting. And then as we get within 4 weeks, you can try to schedule. Of course, I understand ideally, they would want to know 6 months in advance, 5 months in advance, 4 months in advance, that what time their board meeting is scheduled. I get that that's that would be a desired outcome to know when that is. And it is a little bit of a hardship to not know when that is. So I'm sympathetic to that, but
Is there any reason they can't have a board meeting and a membership meeting back to back? In this one room?
Right, in the same time period.
Yeah, or maybe just in like, okay, we have one room.
And are they using the community?
community room. Community room is definitely, that's what, so it all goes back to increased pressure on the community room in general. That seems to be the room that everybody wants to use.
They're not saying we would use the board meeting, this room for a board meeting.
Not as often, but I'm sure.
Because that would only help them if they have a membership meeting followed by a board meeting. Get all the issues out, have a board meeting.
So, anyway,
Is it true that the next month or whatever, they were able to schedule both?
I did, I said, yeah, I said, I understand that, the club in particular said we have a particular pressing need to meet multiple times right now. They're worried about membership. And so I said, fine, I will allow this to happen, but it's not going to happen going forward. And they accepted that, but I'm not sure that was. We'll find out whether that's going to be accepted going forward. So I just wanted to make sure that I'm not being unreasonable in my interpretation of what that policy means. 1 month. That's what that
And there are
means.
other people that are wanting this space, right? So,
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not every group that wants to have 2 meetings, but there are lots of groups that want to use, and listen, it's,
There aren't a lot of spaces.
there's what?
There aren't a lot of space.
There are not a lot of
Spaces to
spaces,
move,
right?
to
And
meet,
there's,
so.
and then, there are times when the rooms are just not used because they're just not desirable times. Friday night, very available. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night are just, that's prime time. And people like to have, I would always love to have the third Thursday of every month. Well, I can't promise you that, because is that an equitable distribution for me to look at one group and say, you always have the third Thursday of every month? I can't promise that. That's not an, other groups might want that night too. So that causes, this tension is not new. This is a very common tension. I just want to make sure this one particular question seems happy to talk about it. I don't, this is not a hill
Yeah,
to die on, but
that seems totally fair. However, to the point where then you never want to, right? And I think also people can live with, 4-week,
right. I mean, that's why we created that switch specifically to say, oh, if you want to have 4 meetings in a month, you can, you just can't have them.
schedule out.
So they could schedule in advance of their membership meeting and be able to say at that meeting, the next meeting is here on this date. No,
2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, yeah,
Okay.
if the room's available, you can have it. It's just, it shortens that time window. 6 months, 6 or 7 months effectively right now. I can book out the rooms. Normally, we just make everybody wait, give everybody a chance to get the rooms. And then within that short time period, we figure if you haven't requested it 4 weeks before, you probably don't want it. Rooms available. Happy.
That seems fair.
And that's why we wrote the policy that way. But I just want to make, this is a little bit of an interpretation, and I just wanted to make sure that that was our will. So, okay, thank you. That's good.
Okay, credit card policy on page 33. This has been through the policy committee. looks like a lot of changes, but it's not really actually. Just added the department heads. Manager, coordinator, librarian too. And then a lot of it's workman thing, actually.
Single page just basically lists who's eligible for a card.
Plus they get checked out.
Within the safe.
It simplifies the policy instead of talking about a purchase card or a travel card, it's really just a credit card. It's for whatever is appropriate. So that enables some simplification of the policy.
I'll take a motion.
Make a motion to approve the new policy on credit cards,
Second.
revised policy.
Second.
Any more further discussion? All those in favor, see whether raise your hand. Okay. Proposition that we passes, moving on to payroll timekeeping system upgrade on page 30. This was in the budget.
This was in the budget.
We talked about that.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just, so
Oh, well. We talked about this when we put the budget together, looking at an upgrade to the timepiece system. And this is the invoice, and because it's over the limit, we need to have board authorization to, we want to start moving forward on the process. It's gonna take a little bit of time to get, the new software in place and get everybody trained.
So why is that highlighted in yellow?
Yeah, so there's an issue with that.
Cause it's optional, it's a 2-year extended
Okay.
warranty, it's optional, I mean, but
But recommended, I assume?
yes.
and
It
this
seems
just
pretty cheap, to be honest.
from a purchasing standpoint, this is through the BOCES. So it skips around a lot of those purchasing. It's already a cooperative they bid.
Yeah.
Product is sole source further because it's purchased directly from NARIC, which is the BOCES.
And this works with our accounting software payroll system. It talks to it instead of me having to enter in hours twice, because I do my own spreadsheet. And then I enter it into the system and make sure they match, so I don't miss anybody. This, when an employee punches in and out, once their supervisor approves it, it automatically talks to the payroll system and says, okay, we're gonna calculate this check based on, these hours and this rate of pay.
So you're looking forward to this system.
And I mean, the service with NARIC is absolutely phenomenal. They've gotten me out. They've gotten Jeff out of a couple of things too when I got stuck in Hawaii.
The support is really good. I mean, all you have to do is pick up the phone if you have a problem or a question, and they'll
Great.
hold your hand and walk you through it.
Can I take a motion for this item?
I'll make a motion to accept the payroll system upgrade or authorize the contract for the
Yeah.
payroll system upgrade.
Okay, second.
I second.
Great. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Hearing no one, zero opposition, that motion is carried. Okay, the next item is the steering committee name and composition. So this is the architect indicated a desire to have some kind of steering committee on the project. Which I'm not sure. I was kind of pushing back and said it's the full board, but they indicated that they want people to opt into some sort of committee, so we put it out to the full board. I think their intent is that if decisions have to be made between board meetings, that there would be some sort of smaller group of the board, and it's a pretty small board, so, but they wanted, we had a discussion about what the committee should be named, and then who should be on the committee. My feeling is that everyone should be on the committee, it's the committee of the whole. And the name, it doesn't really matter what the name is, but
They didn't have a problem to say everybody,
right.
if everyone wants to be on, they're fine.
Right, and I think if we, this group has been very responsive. If we can send an email and saying you have to weigh in by email in the next 48 hours, I think people will do that, honestly, so. But, so I just throw it to the group, do we want to have a committee, and if we do, what do we want to call
For some reason, I thought we had already decided that the whole board and key members of the employees were the committee. I thought we had kind of already
Right.
decided that, but maybe I'm.
it? No, that's, yeah, I mean, that's my, I would like to have that, that's what it should be, I think. I put an email out and not everyone responded, like, oh, that's so I want to make sure, so some people, oh, you guys. That's fine, if people don't want to, that's totally fine, I mean, but. No, an email, I just put an email out saying,
I mean, I will say one thing, if that's gonna be the case in email, I really think we need to put something in the title, in the subject, if you want a response.
yeah,
So I can sort, like, cause I get a lot of emails.
no, I know everyone does, exactly. We'll put it in bold, highlights, please read this, or please take action on this, yeah. But,
The special name, can it just be the building steering committee?
sure.
Well, there were a few, weren't there, sorry, I don't
Few
have the notes
names
in
that
front of
were
me.
Yeah, I had just said like there was, I think the discussion was that it had been the long range planning committee. And you, I think, had suggested sticking with that for like continuity possibly, or was that, so somebody said that.
Yeah,
And then I suggested it should be like something that's really clear, like, building
building
project
website.
committee or something, so that it. Just in other situations where I've had things that had sort of nebulous names that nobody knows what it really is, right? So a name that it's clear to the community what it is. But I don't really care too much one way or the other, whatever people think.
Improvement committee, building.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so how about we call it the building project? And everyone's on the committee, and we'll do business by. Electronic means, if needed, have it updated every meeting, board meeting. If something has happened in between board meetings, we will signify in the subject line. Some way to say, please
Yeah.
weigh in the next, 48 hours or whatever, try not to jam people, too much.
Yeah, because sometimes I look at library emails clusters, and
Right.
I'll
Yeah,
do it every.
I sort by name.
Well, I'll know that there's a lot that came in and I'll say, okay, I can't. Do all of them now, but within 24 hours or within 48 hours, I'll go through everything.
cool, sounds good. Any other, you got something good? Okay, any other new business?
That's it. Can we vote to create that?
Sure.
committee?
We can vote to create that. I'll take a motion to create the building project committee.
I make a motion that we create the building projects committee.
I'll second that, actually. Why not? Any further discussion? See all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Okay. Seeing no opposition, we have now created the building project committee. Any other new business? Okay, old business. Building committee.
I'll run down, I was here, so just, the report, just what we mentioned before, the architects were here, that's really the only thing we were gonna talk about, and the contract is in force. And that process is kicking off, which is now gonna get kicked to the building project committee, so.
And they have this December 2nd hard deadline they put on themselves. So I'm assuming that things will happen in November, obviously, because they have.
December 2nd for the whole thing to be done?
They have, which, I did suggest in one of the meetings, are you sure you can meet at December 2nd meeting? Yeah, well,
It's gonna be back.
I said, okay, so, not to be skeptical, but I'm assuming that may have some November business ongoing.
Maybe everyone's going on vacation, just have strong motivation.
Could be, yeah, it could be an internal thing, that's right, yeah. But so that's the, that's the deadline for them, just get something close to that, so. Okay,
It's in process.
yeah, they are working, so,
I will report to you as quickly as I can if I have updated.
okay, personnel committee, there wasn't really much of that.
Just the director evaluation process has been started.
Yes,
And just to reiterate, the due date for everyone to reply to that is, what was it, November 10th?
November 10th.
Okay, I
Yeah.
think that's what it was, so if you haven't seen that email.
Any
Since Jeff, I did see your email today about negotiations and that Shonik King has reached out. Do we have an action item on that, or they just,
Nope.
okay,
We're talking to be done. TBD.
got it.
And the union is kind of gathering its.
Yeah, I reached out and said, hey, you know, we're interested in what you have to say, and I think they're under new leadership, and so I think their intention is to have a meeting. Not involved, but I believe their intention is to have a meeting at some point in the near future,
Okay.
and then coming out of that, they'll have identified their priorities and the things they're interested in seeking.
And you anticipate that Charles will be their lawyer?
I believe so, yes. I have no reason to suspect that that's not the case.
Okay, any other old business or personnel business, any other business that we'll bring up today? Okay, any public participation?
Nope.
Okay, take a motion for adjournment then.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. I'll second it. All in favor, please signify by raising your hands. Okay, thanks very much. Motion carries. Next board meeting is November 14th and Friends December 9th.
Hey, Jeff, for the kids programming,
We're still, it's live.